Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Juan, I am just one reader, and it's so lovely to see you today. This time I am doing the Booktuber, something, Book Tag 2.0. This was created by Adrian and Dalton over at Stripped Cover Lit, and they were generous and kind enough to tag me in it, and now I'm doing it. So I have taken some of my favorite booktubers. I have a lot of favorite booktubers, but I selected some booktubers that I've had some conversations with, and I have taken the booktuber and I have taken a book that embodies kind of the personality of that booktuber. So disclaimer here, I'm not saying that the books that I choose are custom-made recommendations for that booktuber. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's completely unrelated, but you'll see. So the first one that I have is the channel Hardback Hoarder. And this is a sassy YA book with a lot of personality. And I have chosen Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. I don't read a lot of YA anymore. I think I'm growing out of it, but this one is a YA book that I definitely appreciated. I would absolutely recommend it, and I just treasure it in my memory. I have the greatest memories with it. It's just sassy, and it's a lot of fun. The second booktuber that I want to mention is Simon over at Savage Reads. I love Simon, he knows that I love him, and this is a British novel that blew you away. So I chose actually two books for Simon because I love Simon, and he deserves two books. Well, everyone deserves two books or more than two books, but I chose two books that are so incredibly British, and they are set in London, and they're just wonderful immersive novels that really make you feel like you were there. And so the first one is The Crimson Petal and the White. I had to mention this book because it's so immersive and so British and so well written. It's really fascinating. And the other one is, of course, the lovely Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is as British as it gets, and it's magical as hell. It's wonderful. It's a huge novel. It's one of the longest, most intimidating books that I've read, but it was definitely worth it. The next channel that I want to mention is Adam from Memento Mori, another booktuber that I just completely love. And so for Adam, this is a book that makes you think all the way through. It has its own opinion, and it doesn't really care if you like it or not. It's just there. You can take it or leave it. But it's a book that if you let it change you, if you let it in, it will change you forever. And so for this one, I chose There But For The by Alice Smith. This is a wonderful, experimental, weird novel that plays a lot with spelling, grammar, and punctuation. It's quite stream of consciousness, and it just blew me away for the experience of reading it. It was fantastic. The next channel that I want to mention is Stephanie over at That's What She Read, another booktuber that I keep having very interesting conversations with, and I just always watch her videos. She always comments on mine, and we have a great connection, I think, and similar tastes. And so for Stephanie, this is a book that you connect with and you keep coming back to. And that would be my favorite book, and that is The Neverending Story by Michael Ende. I think I've talked a lot about this book in other videos, and yeah, it's a book that I always keep coming back to. It's like my childhood book, besides Harry Potter. And I chose another one for Stephanie, which is His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. I'm not sure if Stephanie has read either of these books, but this is another trilogy that it's my favorite trilogy, and I always think, man, I should reread it this year. And I might actually have to reread it very soon because they're making the BBC miniseries. So yeah, there's an upcoming reread of His Dark Materials. Okay, the next channel that I have is Conrad over at The Deckled Edge. And this is an interesting book that is your most intimidating book on your bookshelf. So this is actually an unread book. I haven't read it. It's the single most intimidating book. And there's no question. It has to be 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a book that I should have read decades ago. Well, not decades, a decade ago in high school. I should have read it before. I don't know why I haven't read it. Everyone always tells me that I should have read it, that I should read it, that I should make it a priority because it's completely up my alley. It's completely something that, that I would love, and I know I would love it, but there's something about this book. It's here in Mexico, it's always talked about as being the most important book you will read in your life, like the Latin American classic, which I guess it is. And it's not even that long. It's 432 pages in my original Spanish edition, but for some reason I just feel like I'm too stupid, and I'm too stupid to get it and to understand it. And hopefully I will read it soon. Maybe not 2016, but 2017 for sure. Hopefully. And finally, the channel that we have all been waiting for, Stripped Cover Lit. So I chose one for Adrian and one for Dalton. For Adrian, this is a book that keeps you critically thinking and makes you a better reader. And the best novel that I could think of for this that I have read this year is Swamplandia by Karen Russell. I admit I don't know a lot about literature. I have never really studied literature or taken any courses on the matter, but immediately I read Swamplandia and I just immediately knew that this was like a classic in the making. This is the book that I can definitely see in the future, these being studied in college and this being like the next American classic. It was just fabulous. It was not perfect, but it was such an opportunity for critical reading and critical thinking, and it's one of my favorite books so far this year. It was amazing. And finally, for the lovely Dalton that we all love, this is an enjoyable, comfortable, cozy read that you just want to hug. And I chose a book that is not talked about in Booktube anymore. It was talked about way back in its day, which was 2008. And it is Harry, A History by Melissa Anelli. And this is the true story of a boy wizard, his fans, and life inside the Harry Potter phenomenon. This was written by Melissa Anelli, who was the president or something of the Leaky Cauldron, I think, which was a big Harry Potter website back in the day. And this book, I just remember when it came out, just before or after the last Harry Potter book came out, this book was published, and it's like the story of a Harry Potter fan inside this world of the fandom, and she was very immersed in like the blogs and the Leaky Cauldron and all this magical world that existed. And I just remember every single page that I read from this book, I just wanted to sing. I just wanted to, I couldn't stop smiling. I was so happy for the entirety of this book. It was just the most enjoyable book ever. And yeah, every page that I read, I was like, oh yes, how does she know you love her? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, this was great. And I think it could even hold up today. I could read it today and I would still pretty much enjoy it. I think it would bring a lot of nostalgia value to it. So yeah, Harry, A History. And this actually has a foreword by J.K. Rowling, so it's a big deal. Guys, that was the tag. Now, technically, if I mentioned you in the tag, you are tagged. So that means you officially are, you have to do it. You just have to do it. The power of Stripped Cover Lit compels you to do it. So I would really enjoy it if you were to do it, and tell me all about what you think about this tag and the books that I mentioned. My name is Juan, I'm Just One Reader, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.